What's up, comic book fans? And welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me. And today, we got a new series with issue 1 of Hellverine by writer Benjamin Percy, who had also penned the last Wolverine series run and the current Ghost Rider Final Vengeance story, as well as the last Ghost Rider series. And during those last runs, he gave us the character known as Hellverine, after a new evil spirit had merged with Wolverine. But the Weapons of Vengeance story arc ended when the Ghost Rider burned the demon and his host with a damnation stare that imprisoned the creature. But is it still imprisoned? Because if it was out of there, how is it back now? So if you guys are ready for this new 4-issue miniseries featuring one of the dopest new takes on an old character, then you guys know what time it is. Let's get it. So when this issue kicks off, we get a quick look back at the Weapons of Vengeance story. Kind of a speed run of sorts that starts off with Mephisto and one of his favorite demons, known as Baghragul. Baghragul would erect monuments of suffering in Mephisto's honor, both in hell and the world above. And Mephisto would go on to find a vessel for Baghragul in the form of a child that was conceived on a blood altar. That child's name was Bram Straub. And he would go on to reluctantly do the work of Baghragul and Mephisto for years, until he had struck a deal with Project Hellfire to free him of the demon Baghragul, who Project Hellfire wanted to use as a weapon. So they found a new host for it in the form of Logan, aka Wolverine. And once merged with the demon Baghragul, Wolverine became the entity known as Hellverine. And now the Ghost Rider was the only thing that could stop him, resulting in the demon getting sealed away in a monument formed by the Hellfire of the damnation stare. But truth is, Baghragul had just been healing and hibernating, waiting for his return. And now he's ready to rise again. Then we pick up with a month ago in the far north, and on the shore of Hudson Bay, there's a container that arrives that's smuggling people. They came with the hopes of a better life, but are instead sold into slavery. Whoever survives would have been transported to basements and clubs and massage parlors. But something else finds them first. Then 3 weeks ago in upstate New York, there's a small church that's struggling to survive. So during Mass, the priest laces the communion wine with drugs, creating a dependency and wild visions that keep the patrons coming back. And several of them have already died, but more just continue to take their place. But now time for confession has come for that priest, cause Baghragul's back, and the Hellverine walks among us once more. But this time, something's different. Then we jump to 2 days ago at a burial at Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia, for 5 soldiers that were part of an elite fire team. A highly skilled, extensively trained team that was the most dangerous and effective unit in all the Army. But an ambush took out all but one of them. And then as their burial ends and all of the families of these soldiers clear the cemetery, we meet a guy named General Harms, who has his men go and dig these soldiers back up. And that all brings us to today, where somewhere in Virginia at a roadside bar we find Logan just as a group of soldiers rush in and go directly for him with their guns out. Then we go back a day to yesterday, a day after the general had dug those soldiers back up. And deep below the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., there's a new facility called the Pentagon, and it's the home of Project Hellfire. And as the general and his men bring in the dead soldiers, he asks the team of scientists if they're ready. But the scientists tell him that they aren't even close to being ready. They're still trying to run diagnostics since they don't know nearly enough about Hellfire energy. But what the general does know is that each of these soldiers cost the country $60 million. And they're not just going to write that off and move on. The bodies of these soldiers are trained weapons that are on their way to rotting, but he kept them clean of formaldehyde so the doctors could do their work. Their muscle memory should still be intact, and he wants to move fast on this. So this Hellfire lab is fully devoted to using hell as an arsenal. Iron forged with the blood of sinners, and weapons charged with the screams of the damned. Sulfur bombs, burning chains, poisoned hooks, and all sorts of things like that cause torturous pain all the way down to the soul. They use Hellfire as a weapon and a source of energy, and they use it to try and reanimate these 5 dead soldiers. And when we jump back to today at that bar in Virginia, as Logan fights off these soldiers, he's hit with multiple tranq darts, twice as much as it takes to bring down a polar bear, and then he's restrained before his healing factor can kick in. Then we go back to yesterday at Project Hellfire as the process is completed and these dead soldiers are filled with Hellfire. And one of the scientists, the same one that had originally told the general that they were not ready for this process, now expresses her fear to the general. But he attempts to calm her since these soldiers are locked down pretty tight. They'll be able to keep them on lockdown while the scientists run their diagnostics and assess the soldiers' ability to fall in line. But then the soldiers begin to wake up and arise, and without any hesitation are able to break free of their straps, like they weren't even there. Then the general tries to command these soldiers and orders them to stand down, but they don't listen, and one of them grabs one of the scientists and then burns the man's head down to his skull with Hellfire from an eye blast. Then this crazy new creation, upon seeing the look of death in his hands, enjoys it so much that he decides to give himself the gift of death. And just like that, these dumbass soldiers are down to 4. The general, meanwhile, yells for someone to stop them. But how the hell do you stop 4 dead soldiers emitting Hellfire? And they easily burn their way through this facility, and even up to the Pentagon itself, just as a briefing was being given. And when one of the officers tries to put up a fight, one of the freaks bites his damn head off. Sheesh. Then we jump back to 4 days ago, a couple of days before those soldiers' funeral. And outside of Philadelphia, there's servants of hell that have an extra sense, like being able to hear the sound of sin. They can taste evil in the air, such as the power of Bagra Ghul. The demon uses darkness as a compass. And as this evil cannibal group dine on sins tonight, Bagra Ghul was hungry too, and he decides to crash their party. This club had met once a month over a decade and ate what they hunted, the poor and the vulnerable, ones that no one would ever miss, but now it was their turn to be hunted. See, something had happened when Bagra Ghul bonded with Wolverine. There was a twinning, or a warping, so to speak. Logan was scarred with regret for all of the terrible things he had done, and he had weaponized that guilt. When he lashed out now, he did so with a repentant spirit. And in the same fashion, Bagra Ghul could still bathe in blood and delight in pain while punishing the Punishers. Punishers just like the ones he sensed now. Then we jump back to today with Wolverine now chained up at Project Hellfire, as the general comes in to interrogate him. And when he comes in, he asks Wolverine why he didn't use his powers when they came for him at the bar. But when Wolverine extends his claws, the general tells him that those aren't the powers he was talking about. And then he shows Wolverine a video clip of the Hellverine from 4 weeks ago. But when Logan sees the video, he knows that ain't him, and he tells the general that. But the general, of course, doesn't believe him. I'm sure Bruce Banner says the same thing when he sees footage of the Hulk rampaging. And then he shows Logan more videos of what Hellverine left behind. The carnage in Philly with the Cannibal Club, a serial killer group of truckers in Ohio, a sniper hitting people in Chicago. You killed them all, the general tells him. Then he tells Logan that he's the new head of Project Hellfire, and they're the ones that created the Hellverine. They implanted a demonic spirit in Logan and programmed him to hunt, so they know who he is. But Logan tells him that the Ghost Rider took the spirit out of him. He ain't with him anymore. And besides, what the general describes doesn't make any sense to Logan anyway. Bagra Ghul is the bad guy. He doesn't hunt the bad guys. Then we go back to yesterday at the Pentagon as those Hellfire soldiers continue their rampage and take out everybody that they encounter. The Hellverine then shows up, and he starts fighting these soldiers. And then helicopters arrive, and inside they begin to open fire on the Hellverine and the Hellfire soldiers rampaging. But one of those Hellfire soldiers uses his chain to grab and pull down one of those choppers, causing a huge explosion around them. As we then go back to Logan's interrogation as he's being shown that video footage of the incident. Then the general tells Wolverine that the demons are still out there right now. They killed more than 50 people in about an hour, burning their way through one of the most secure facilities on the planet. And their weapons had no effect on these soldiers. But the Hellverine did, and the general wants to fight fire with fire. So he releases Logan from his restraints, and he asks him for his help. Then Logan asks the general to pull that footage back up again, back to when the Hellverine had gotten blasted by the fire from the choppers, and has him slow down the frame rate. And when he does, Logan is shocked at what he sees. It can't be, Logan says to the general. And when the general asks what it is that Logan sees, Logan tells him that it's something that might not mean anything to the general, but it's something he'd recognize anywhere. The tattoo. That's my son. That's a kiddo. But that's impossible. Because he's dead. And that, my friends, is the end of the issue. So what did you guys think? You feeling this new series? I know a lot of people were upset with Daken's death at the hands of Sabretooth during the Sabretooth War. And I'll make sure to attach that playlist to the end of this video for anybody that missed it. But I guess this is how we get them back. So what do you guys think about that? And what do you think that it was that caused them to return? Do you think that since the Demon and Logan's merger caused a twin effect, that maybe that's why it sought out Daken, since he shares Logan's DNA? Y'all know I want y'all to hit me with all your best theories. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this video and this channel, and you'd like to support the channel, then you could do so by stopping by the Comics Icon store and picking you up some of this merchandise, including the background music heard right here in this video, available for download, or by joining the Iconic Fan Club channel membership, and it'll be a link in the description to join. But with your membership, your voice will be heard during our interactive live streams with yours truly, where we could talk about everything that's been going down in these issues, as well as ones that you'd like for me to go over in the future and other comic book news. Plus, you guys will get loyalty badges, member shoutouts, and up to 20% off of Comics Icon's merchandise from the Comics Icon store. And now we've got new tiers to the memberships as well, starting at just 99 cents. Or you guys can donate to the channel with a super thanks. And if you're not able to do any of these, then you can still be a tremendous help to the future of this channel by dropping a like, share, and subscribing to Comics Icons for more icons in the comic book world. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. I'm out. Peace.